I'm tired of dealing with my dad. Me and my dad had a good relationship while I was growing up. My dad ended up being away a lot due to work and eventually bought an apartment across the state for work and would travel back and forth infrequently. My mom always suggested that we moved where he was, but he would always say the area was no good. Their relationship began to deteriorate, and me and my brother saw it. In 2022, when I was visiting his apartment for a few days, I went in his room to find an iPhone charger while he was away. When I opened one of his drawers, I discovered sex toys for women. I was shocked at first. I couldn't really understand what I was looking at because it was so unbelievable. I checked his closet and found lingerie and more sex toys. I told myself it must be for my mom because there's no way he was cheating. Not this guy I looked up as a role model my whole life. I didn't say anything about it for the rest of the time I was there until we went back to our house. 2 days after we left the apartment and were staying at the house, my parents started acting weird. They kept talking in private or when me and my brother were away. I knew what it was about. It turns out a woman texted my mother and told her everything about her and my dad's secret year-spanning relationship. She sent my mom texts and explicit content of them together. Even after being blocked, this girl used fake numbers to continue harassing my mom with texts and explicit content of them. The day after my mom found both my parents sat me and my brother down to tell us they were separating, not immediately saying why. But I knew why. That day I sat down with him and told him my anger and frustration. I then listened to his excuses and his crying. Even being angry and disappointed with him, I hugged him and told him, "It's okay." I was sympathetic and told him to see a therapist because I believed he was mentally unwell after what he had told me. Looking back and thinking about him now, I realize he is extremely manipulative. That day was the last time I gave my dad sympathy. I never told my mom about what I found, and I don't plan to for her own sanity. To this day, he is still with that girl and has also cheated on her too. My brother ended up moving to live with my dad after he basically bought a house the size of a mansion not long after their split. My brother was always attached to my dad by the hip ever since he was little. I don't see or talk to my brother that much anymore. As the time passes, he seems to be becoming much like my dad. My brother didn't seem to have too much of an issue with my dad's actions, saying he's just happy our dad is happy now and my mom needs to move on with her life. I also don't talk to my friend of 12 years anymore. He lives around my dad and brother, as he kept secrets about things going on that he was aware and a part of, and also harshly criticized me for comments I've made about my own family matters because he has respect for my dad. He attempts to contact me, but I don't respond. Since the talk I had with my dad, he's done nothing with my sympathy but run it over, get out of the car, and step on it to make sure he killed it. The way he treats my mom and how he hangs money over her head constantly is just one example. The first time I visited his house, that night he brought that girl to the house and fucked her in the room next to mine. I was up the entire night. I had to go into the bathroom just so I didn't have to hear it. I didn't know how to react, but I wanted to make sure I didn't react due to emotion. The next day I told him I knew what he was doing and I wouldn't be staying at that house. I stayed with my cousin and continue to do so anytime I go down there. He later apologized for what he did, but I didn't really care for the apology. Another example of disrespect is throwing a secret party with family for my brother that me and my mom were unaware of. The girl he cheated on my mom with was also there. She then posted pictures of her and my brother on Facebook like she was his mom. My brother and that girl have a good relationship apparently. Today I've had enough. He's manipulative and a narcissist. I've worked for my dad for 3 years now, and the only reason I've stayed is because the hours are flexible, which allows me to work on the things I want to do career-wise much easier. Anytime he needs something, I do it. When he needs me to cover, I do it. But my checks are always wrong and sometimes delayed. He doesn't answer my calls and rarely answers texts, but when he needs something, he'll make sure to answer calls and texts. Most recently, I didn't get my money until 4 days after the pay period. He changed my schedule without me knowing, causing me to lose hours, and finally completely ignored me throughout this whole time, including his birthday. Today, he called me because I've been missing some reports for work due to me not wanting to walk around in humidity and heat because he hasn't brought a fixed golf cart like he said for the past month. The last one broke and my job is a huge property. He began screaming at me how he does everything for the family and how he has to treat me like one of his idiot employees. He then finished off by saying, "I hope you miss me when I'm gone," sobbing before hanging up. There was a lot more to his rant, but I pretty much blocked it out. I'm done. I can't put up with his shit anymore. This guy is everything I look at to avoid becoming. My other issue is my mother. While I love her and would always be there for her, living with her takes its toll on me as well. I don't know if she realizes it, but telling me she wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me and my brother, or implying that if I was gone like my brother, she would have ended her life is extremely stressful to hear. She obviously went through a lot and continues to with my dad. But while the mental toll it takes on me hearing that I'm the reason she didn't take a handful of sleeping pills a while ago is awful, I don't believe my mom would up and end her life if I were to move out. But the comments definitely make me question it.